Cultural Arts Commission, and we have no chair or anything at this point, so I guess I will lead the meeting to start things off.
Love that.
Welcome everybody, especially our new members. Really great to have new folks here. So what I'm going to do is do a roll call to get started, and I can see that everybody's here, so I don't even really have to do that. So we got everybody here. And then we're going to do welcome and introductions. So my name's Porter Arneal. I am an assistant director for Parks and Recreation, and I also oversee arts and culture for the city. And I will turn it to Marlo and let her tell a little bit about her background.
Marlo Angel, I'm a filmmaker. I work at the Lawrence Arts Center. I'm also the community engagement coordinator at Burt Nash. And I just love making films, making connections between people. We have an exhibit on display at the Art Center right now called Finding Liarda, which is really wonderful. It's kind of my ideal type of project because interdisciplinary, bringing people together from all different backgrounds.
That's awesome. I'm Tim Metz with Landmark National Bank is what I do for my day job, but this is what I really love doing. And our organization is one of our points of focus is the arts. And so we work hard to support it. And this is, I guess we're kind of the veterans of the Cultural Arts Commission at this point.
My name is Daniel B. Smith. I've been on the Cultural Arts Commission for almost 5 years, I think, and previously served as the chair for 1 and a little bit of a term. I lived in Lawrence for a long time. I work over at the health department. I'm the communications guy. I have a background in design, which is what I do in my day job. I've also played in a band locally for over 10 years now. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Nice to meet y'all.
Do I just go?
Go, yeah. Not real formal.
Okay. I'm Monique Mercurio. I'm from the Ohlone Coastone Esalen Nation. I am an indigenous bead artist and other things. I am the former director of operations for Art Love Collective. I am a Lawrence community organizer and an indigenous activist within Lawrence, and I like to shake things up and, just spread things out and make sure everybody's involved and has space to be and want to be.
Cool, thanks.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kelly. I am a full-time working artist for the past 12 or 13 years, primarily working in paper. That includes paper sculpture, paper installations, paper cutting, as well as I have been teaching at the Lawrence Arts Center for the past 12 years, primarily in screen printing and paper arts. And I also co-run a high school arts-based program out of the Arts Center called Hang 12 that high school program that gets paid to curate and organize art shows for youth and for working artists, anyone who wants to be involved in town. So that's very
Cool. I'm Kelly Caranta. We just moved back here to Lawrence from Florida. We lived in Lawrence for 11 years prior to that. I'm just getting my feet wet back in Lawrence. I have a daughter, obviously, a few of you know her, that's an artist, and my former stuff is I'm a costume designer, set design, that kind of stuff. And I used to go around and paint people's windows during the holidays, which was the most fun thing. So, I'm just trying to get back into it, and I'm excited to be here.
Great, thanks.
Well,
My name is Matt Gauss. I am, during the day, an attorney with the Kansas State Board of Healing Arts. And my background is I've lived here. We moved here in 1991, and for about 20 years, I kind of wrote, directed, acted, produced, and a lot of kind of independent theatrical things. First thing I produced was back when the Art Center was at the Carnegie Building back in 1996, I think. And so spent about 20 years doing that, and a lot less time to do that because I got kids now, but I'm excited to kind of start getting back out into the world, so to speak, as they get a little bit older.
Great, welcome everybody. This is exciting, kind of a new reboot. And I know Daniel was actually part of the board and committee structure committee something, which was a 2-year process, really, a year and a half or so, that got us to this point. So this is, one thing I want to say is I've been really trying to learn all this stuff. I know that several of you attended the orientation meeting, so that was a good review of all the policies and things related to this whole change and what we all need to be aware of. And I emailed that to you guys, and it is on this agenda. So I intentionally sort of put things on agendas. If you ever need to find something, that's a good place to look, and or feel free to email me, and I'm happy to share information that way as well. And I thought, as sort of a teaching moment, if I may, since we are kind of learning here, so this is our, if you haven't discovered it already, this is the web page. It's actually a third party, but it looks like our website that we use for all of our board and commissions, including the city commission. So when I put links on this is a lot of them will probably take you to this. And then, you can see here it's September 11th, you click here, and there is our art commission meeting. And the whole agenda is here for your reference. And then I can actually use this agenda. And Kurt, do I need to share the screen if we don't have any Zoom participants, or can you pick it up?
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
You're on TV, it's good.
Okay. So the next agenda item is background on new meeting restructure. So tonight what we're doing is just a background on things, that info packet that I shared with you guys, which I think makes it a little easier to kind of navigate these there's 4 policies related to this transition. And there's a lot of information in each policy. So I put this together to kind of summarize it. It helps me a little bit. It's kind of my cheat sheet, and that's why I thought I'd share it with you all as a benefit. And then I'll do a brief overview of the Cultural Arts Commission just to kind of catch you up on things, but this really is a reboot opportunity of sorts too, which is exciting as well based on the whole strategic plan. And then our task tonight, based on the policy, is to elect a chair and vice chair of this board and to talk about and schedule a new meeting time if you so would desire. That's going to be a little ornery because I don't know what meeting times are available, so we just have to talk about what works best for everybody, and we'll work through a process to do that. So to get started, this is the board and commissions page, and new tab, and this will take us back to that. Oops, here it is. Takes us here. This is all of the new, so this is the new sort of page with all the background information. You can see the City Commission, Affordable Housing Advisory Board, Planning Commission, Aviation Advisory Board, all these other boards and commissions, and somewhere in here is the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission. And so this is also referenced in this document just as some background information. The governing body established the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission for the purpose of considering, developing, and providing policy advice to the governing body to fulfill the unmistakable identity strategic plan outcome, which is Lawrence is a welcoming community synonymous with arts, diverse culture, fun, and a quintessential downtown. City parks and community events contribute to the vibrancy experienced by all people in Lawrence. The outcomes represent what our city is in business to do and what we plan to accomplish with our community. To realize our vision for Lawrence, we endeavor to achieve this outcome. As such, the City Commission has identified several unmistakable identity progress indicators to track our progress towards this outcome. And then that's just the background information. And there's one, so other policies were sunsetted in this whole process, except for one, which is our public art program policy, which is also here. And this is Resolution 7070, which relates to the public art policy of the city, which we'll get into more later, but it is there. The city has, a lot of cities that do public art have public art ordinances, so it's a requirement. This is a resolution. It's actually a visionary resolution that was established in 1986, but because of one word, it's not always implemented. And that is in the policy itself, the Lawrence, Kansas City Commission may annually set aside through bond or other normal budgetary procedures an amount not to exceed 2% of the cost of all capital improvements constructed, acquired, or contracted for construction acquisition during the previous fiscal year for acquisition, purchase, and installation of art in public places. So many times this hasn't been instituted because the budget hasn't been passed that way. So just for information, but it is a long-standing policy. It's actually been reaffirmed several times, so something to be aware of. Let's see, go back here. So that's there, and then of course, as I just showed you, you have the Cultural Arts Commission here, which has your terms, everybody on this board, and terms and information and background information, and you have email addresses listed, so folks can get in touch with you. And if you have any questions at any point, feel free to reach out to me.
What's the actual name of this commission?
The Cultural Arts Commission.
I think it says Lawrence at the top.
Well, it's known as the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission, but because no other boards or commissions use the term Lawrence, it's kind of understood. I refer to it as Cultural Arts Commission. Some of us refer to it as LCAC. You'll hear it both ways. Any questions so far? I mean, I'm happy to answer questions. Okay. Back to the agenda. So I prepared a presentation, and I did this before I attended the orientation, so I have a lot of redundant information, so I won't belabor it too much. But this is a brief overview. The history, okay, wait a minute. This has got to, do I get to full page?
Try
Is that your
present.
project?
That is.
Recognize
I haven't
that.
seen that photo.
Oh, there we go.
I like
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, intersection.
So the history of the Cultural Arts Commission, the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission was originally established by the City of Lawrence in December 1973 as the Lawrence Arts Commission. It was charged to promote, encourage, and coordinate the artistic and cultural activities of the community through recommendations made to the governing body of the city and through coordinating endeavors of those groups and organizations which identify themselves as primarily concerned with the artistic environment of Lawrence. Happily, this sort of still stands with the strategic plan because we are working under the outcome area of unmistakable identity, which includes community partners like the Arts Center, Theater Lawrence, and others. So it's actually fairly consistent with where we are now, just sort of reiterating how that's evolving. And yes, this was a wonderful project that was not easy, but to paint the intersection at, near New York School at, is that 10th and, what's the cross street?
I think it was it 10th and New York?
No,
New
it
Jersey.
was New Jersey. And unfortunately, whoops, the paint, we learned that paint doesn't really stand new asphalt very well. So, or I guess it needed new asphalt, I don't remember. But it really was a wonderful project and a lot of fun. So the current programs for the Cultural Arts Commission, the Cultural Arts Commission is somewhat unique in that most boards and commissions are purely advisory boards. The Arts Commission actually has a budget, and that budget pays for these programs, which is the Community Arts Grants, the Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition, the Phoenix Awards, and the Public Art Program when it is funded. So we implement that Public Art Program when it's actually funded. And I did put a link in here so you can actually see that as well. The new Cultural Arts Commission, and I just read all this, so I won't read it again, but that's how this is established and our new task. And then, of course, there's a strategic plan, which is to go over it quickly. There's a vision, mission, and the values of the city. The vision is the City of Lawrence supporting an unmistakably vibrant community with innovative, equitable, transparent, and responsible local government. We create a community where all enjoy life and feel at home. Our values are character, competence, courage, collaboration, and commitment. The 5 outcomes, and the outcomes are, these are the things, what we do for the city. Unmistakable identity, strong welcoming neighborhoods, safe and secure, prosperity and economic security, and connected city. And our commitments, there's 6 commitments, is the way we do those things. So all the commitments overlap and are intertwined with the outcomes, if that makes sense. And there's a champion, a staff member, who is a department director effectively for all of these things. So there's 11 staff representatives for this as well. And that includes community engagement, efficient and effective processes, equity and inclusion, sound fiscal stewardship, engaged and empowered teams, and environmental sustainability. Questions? And so unmistakable identity is where we fall in. We are you all are one of two boards under unmistakable identity. So the Cultural Arts Commission is the arts and culture side of things, and then the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board is the other unmistakable board representing that area. So there may be some interaction, but you are two standalone by the committee, two standalone boards, and we're still trying to understand exactly how that's going to work. We also have just finishing a master plan process that actually started about a year ago, which formally brings arts and culture under Parks and Recreation. So right now we're calling that Parks, Recreation, Arts and Culture. Arts and culture always sort of rubs up against Parks and Rec, but is rarely done intentionally. So I think that's really a great opportunity, but it is new for the city, and frankly, with recent budget challenges, we're not able to launch into it as much as I would have loved to have seen. But the groundwork is there, and there's certain opportunities. The master plan is a 10-year plan, so we'll be working on that, and budget will change over the years in different ways. So on unmistakable identity, Lawrence is a welcoming community synonymous with arts, diverse culture, fun, and a quintessential downtown. City parks and community events contribute to the vibrancy experienced by all people in Lawrence. And the key to our strategic plan are these, and these are called our progress indicators. And there are 14 of them. Sorry for the confusion, but these are actually being updated. So these are the newer ones. Some of you have probably seen the older ones. Some of them just weren't feasible, as we didn't have ways of actually measuring them. So we've updated them, and they were never meant to be forever. They need to evolve with things that we do. And I won't go through all this. The main one is % of residents who are satisfied or very satisfied with the Parks and Recreation system. And these two are under community engagement. These two are under efficient and effective processes. These four are under equity and inclusion. 2 under sound fiscal stewardship, 1 under engaged and empowered teams, and 3 under environmental sustainability. I highlighted the ones that seem to be most relevant. So UI2 is % of residents who are satisfied or very satisfied with the amount of arts, cultural opportunities, and related events. UI3, this is our partnerships. Number of people who visited or utilized the city recreation facility, recreation program, Theater Lawrence, Watkins Museum of History, Lawrence Art Center, the Explore Lawrence Tourism Center, and/or the Lawrence Public Library. So those are our formal city partners, so to speak, although we work with other entities involved in arts and culture as well. UI4 is number of residents who have attended select events in the past year. And then UI6, % of residents who believe their culture is celebrated in the community, in other words, through festivals, parades, events, etc. UI10, number of non-residents who have attended select events in the past year. That's an economic development situation, as well as equity, in the sense that who's coming for our unique events in Lawrence, which benefits potentially hotel stays, sales tax, but then also that desire to make sure that we're representing all of our cultural interests in this town. And those are the primary ones. Certainly that's all open for discussion, but that's where we are at this point. Questions? I know it's a lot of information. And as I mentioned, we're doing this Parks and Rec Arts and Culture Master Plan. We started that in 2023. We're hoping to get it to the City Commission this fall. We're in the process of working with the consultant team to edit it. The master plan will provide a 10-year plan for the department with a focus on the unmistakable identity outcome area, integrating arts and culture as part of the newly formed Parks, Recreation, Arts and Culture Department. The plan includes an arts and culture implementation matrix, which I should be able to click on, and it's not letting me do that, based on community feedback. We'll talk more about that. It's actually on the website. And I'll follow up with an email with some more links in here so you guys can do your own research as you need to. And again, always feel free to ask me. And thank you very much. So that covers that. Whoops. Okay, but I can't escape. There we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no questions, The next step is to elect a chair. And to do that, basically, just kind of throw it to you all. So let me read this, sorry. You can do nominations or self-nominations for chair. The chair shall be responsible for presiding over meetings and shall have those additional duties established by the advisory board's bylaws. So at some point, if this board chooses to, you can actually craft bylaws beyond the policies that exist now. So I throw it open to you all. If anybody wants to nominate somebody or self-nominate, they can go ahead and we can just work through the process that way.
Well, so we did this not that long ago. This is DLB Smith. I don't know when the last time we went through the election process was, but a couple of months ago. But I was chair when the last board was dissolved, and I had served as chair once before then. And I'm happy to self-nominate to do it again. I enjoy being chair, and I also feel like as chair, you're able to sort of set up other people to speak more. You kind of have to let other people have a chance to speak before you speak and sort of make sure keep the meeting going. And that's a role that I enjoy filling. I will say the last time we did this, and when I was elected chair, I did say that it was going to be the last time that I was going to serve as chair, and that I wanted that year of serving as chair to be an opportunity for other people to think about serving, and maybe in that time period, somebody else could have conversations with me and get ready to then serve in the subsequent year. Obviously, that term did not end up being a full term. It was, do you know, Porter, actually how long it was? Just a couple. It was
I'm trying to remember.
It was just a couple months. But I will reiterate that, but I am happy to self-nominate myself and serve as chair for one more term, continuing the term that ended with the previous iteration of this body. And then after that, I will refuse to serve. But I'm willing to self-nominate and serve again if
Pretty
people.
clear. And I think the way the new structure is, so we don't have a secretary or anything, and there's a vice chair, which I think the assumption there is that the vice chair then would be on deck to potentially become chair. So that's built into the system, so to speak.
DLB Smith, I don't know if always the previous vice chair would necessarily, I don't know what the track record for that is, but I definitely wouldn't, if somebody was willing to serve as vice chair, I wouldn't, assume that they necessarily had to serve as chair following.
You're right, it's not automatic, but it's certainly an opportunity. But primarily, they are the backup to the chair.
Yeah.
As the policies.
Yeah, for our new members, if the chair isn't present, then the vice chair serves as chair for the meeting. If anybody's interested in serving as vice chair, I will say that I am very consistent in my my attendance. So I think maybe I've missed one meeting. So that gives you a little bit of scope of responsibility. But I won't put anybody on the spot with nominations for vice chair. But I'm curious if anybody else has any other self-nominations or nominations for either.
I have a second for your
Me too.
self-nomination, just because I think you can help lay the foundation of a solid entity that can be, beneficial in the way that we move and have communication and everything like that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Is there
I
a
agree.
gavel? Did that
I
just
agree.
become like
No, I wrote it down.
it's official?
Any other nominations, self-nominations?
I would consider vice. I will let you guys know that we are moving for sure next summer. But I've only been here for 4 years, and I think that my reputation precedes me as far as my willingness to disrupt stagnant spaces and get some new life flow in them. And I would be happy to continue to weave in a way that I desperately need to in this community. I really want to make sure that I leave it happy so I can come back to it someday and it's lovely. So any way I can contribute, but I'm a newbie compared to all of you, so however you feel.
Wrote that down too. Okay, so sticking with the chair position, I will close the floor at that point, and we have one nominee, and so we will go through a vote. Marlo,
Approve?
Tim,
Approve.
Alicia,
Approve.
Monique,
Approve?
Kelly,
Approve?
and Matthew.
Approve.
And Daniel, you can vote or abstain.
I will abstain.
All right, so we have a new chair, a new old chair.
The new chair is the old chair,
A
yes.
reupholstered chair?
There you go.
I might put that in.
I mean, it's the
Reupholstered
new
chair.
CAC. Gotta use the acronym, CAC.
Yeah,
I almost said LCAC.
it's okay. Understood. I've honestly been trying to shake the Lawrence forever, and I just can't seem to get it to go away, so. Just because it isn't necessary, but nothing against the city in any way. Okay. Just make sure that goes in the video.
Noted.
Probably make a whole
all right.
sound clip with that.
So on the vice chair, I have a self-nomination from Monique, which is great. Any other interest in vice chair?
I'm way too new.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah.
I think anybody
Yeah.
that's served on any board realizes there's a few
Yeah.
months you just need to sort of absorb things, so that's totally.
Well, and I have secondary experience with Monique, and I would absolutely,
Thank you.
second that nomination.
Appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right. A little space. Then we will move to a vote. All in favor, well, let me do it, actually, we can do it that way, if you don't mind, show of hands. All in favor of Monique being the vice chair of the Cultural Arts Commission, raise your hand. It is unanimous, and I assume you want to abstain, which is understood as well, so. Excellent, congratulations.
High five.
Our leadership is in place, that was pretty easy and straightforward.
And they
Thank you both for your
even
service.
picked the right chairs.
No, look at that.
No accidents in the world. Okay, and then the second, or the next order of business is to set a time and day and time for regular monthly meetings. So we have traditionally for a long time had the second Wednesday evening slot. During COVID, it got shifted to 7:30 p.m. Because there's another board that was meeting prior to this board. So options are pretty much open, and I'm thinking that we might want to pick more than one option in case we can't do that. I believe we are the first new board to meet though, so we may have an advantage in that of saying we want this time and date, so that's there. But it's done by consensus mostly on what works best for everybody. And so I throw that open to you all to, one is, I guess, the way to start would be is, does this time work well? My thought was that we could possibly move it earlier on Wednesday if that's better for folks, because I know 7:30 makes for some late meetings sometimes. But that is a challenge to me because I also I have to sit on the Sister City Board, and they meet prior to this meeting. So if we chose to do that, I would suggest looking at maybe different Wednesdays.
Sorry, that was a rude interruption.
DLB Smith, I'll say that for me, Wednesdays have always actually been a pretty convenient day. I tend to have meetings on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
Yeah,
So
same here.
Wednesday has always worked out, but it could potentially be a different Wednesday of the month. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe we could be intentional and try and think whether earlier in the month or later in the month is beneficial, because I feel like in the past there's been some issues with us wanting to maybe get a mural proposal approved before the city commission, or some timing in that regard. So off the top of my head, I don't have any brilliant plan for what would be the best day of Wednesday of the month.
We'd have to get back in a rhythm if we change, but I think that's, it still would be monthly. And I'm not crystal clear on what past policies exist in that sense. And I have to find out more about that. Like we have the mural review that this board has, but I have to check into some of those things, so, but valid point.
I'm good with Wednesdays. My schedules can be equally as polluted on those other nights. I would second your notion of doing it earlier, though, because I
Third,
find myself sitting around twiddling my thumbs, waiting for this meeting to start. And
Earlier, and I would suggest earlier in the month, and I'm just thinking forward, Thanksgiving, end of month, Christmas, end of month. So if there's things that you want to have done, it would
Plan.
probably be,
That
easier
feels-
at the beginning of the month.
Good. So like looking at the calendar, like the second Wednesday instead
We're
of the
currently
third.
on
second.
We're on second.
yeah, that's what we're doing
Yeah.
now. So it'd have to be the first if you want to go early.
Is that hard for you guys?
So you're thinking of moving it to the first Wednesday of the month.
That's a good idea. That way we can work on the whole month.
Mm-hmm.
So first Wednesday,
So,
First Wednesday is 6? Is that?
first Wednesday 6 is what I'm hearing by commission.
Work for me.
I was looking for,
I will just work around it.
okay, is that
Yeah, I just have,
adjustable?
I have a date and then I'll just work around it, so.
Okay. I'll leave that alone. I was gonna tease about Wednesday. Okay, so first Wednesday, 6 PM, so our next meeting would then be in 3 weeks, which would be October 2nd,
Okay.
which is fine. And so if that's agreeable,
You looked at me.
Yeah, but
I hate to be a buzzkill,
You are a buzzkill.
but on October the 2nd, the airplane board is meeting.
oh, that is one conundrum, is now all boards and commissions have to meet in this room. So,
And they're meeting at 6, so it'll be a problem,
How long are they in the space for?
at least a couple hours.
Okay.
DLB Smith, is that Kurt, is that the meeting at their new time or their old time?
They stole your time,
Uh,
so they only meet quarterly,
right.
so it's not every month.
Interesting.
So you could totally take it, and I suggest you do.
So you're just implying that we would have to start the new meeting time the month after? Is that?
Or you could start at 2 hours after their 5:30. So it's
Yeah,
like
but
the
that
same
puts us
time.
right back to 7:30, which
Yeah.
we want to avoid.
Are you guys able to do like I know you said Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays can be difficult, but just for that next meeting until we're able to fall back on rotation? Do you want to try to be acrobatic with your schedules?
Well, I think we have to, we got to think about that a little bit, because if they're quarterly, then we're going to be acrobatic with our schedules 4 times a year. And I think that can make it hard. I can't say it will make it hard.
Is there a
but-
different weekday that would work for everybody?
Wednesdays are best for me.
Okay,
too.
yeah, I feel like
I was like, I can't
it's
really
hard
do
to
any other
maneuver
day.
those other days. I agree with you. Well, do you want to do?
DLB Smith, just to clarify, Kurt, the aviation board, are they sticking with that first Wednesday? Is that what they're doing going forward, or is that just this next one?
No, they have not had the meeting like this where you propose a day and time.
So we could claim that, time, and then they would have to get off of it, is what you're saying.
After this
I like
first
this.
time. Yeah.
Well, I think you definitely have dibs.
Why don't we, could I suggest that we meet at our regular time next month? Okay, so second Wednesday, but let's go ahead and request the first Wednesday at 6, so that we could then resume that in November.
And then we just have it.
Have
And
it for
they'd
the rest
have
of
to
the year.
adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah, so October 9th at 6 PM?
So sticking to, sorry, I'm looking at the calendar trying to, this is one of the dilemmas is nobody's really set up a calendar for this purpose. So they are booked for the 2nd. So you're saying stick to our current plan, which would be the 9th,
And then,
Just for next month,
and
yeah.
then see where we land. So our desire is the first Wednesday if we can do it. If not, then we can revisit this too. But then we can stick with the current schedule.
Well, I think-
And the dilemma is I just can't go earlier because I have the other committee.
Right. I think we have to say, we need to send you with 2 times, and if Wednesday only works, then if we can't get the first Wednesday at 6 o'clock, then we need to try to get the second, I think you need to have 2 dates, because by the time we wait a month for you to go through this cycle, everybody else will have met, and then it's going to get into be a real cluster of how do we schedule a date.
The good news is third Wednesday is the week before Thanksgiving, so it's not ideal, but it is the week prior. And then it's also the week before Christmas. So it is a meetable time. And your point is well taken. We get into the holidays,
Yeah.
that affects things. But both those times are, weeks that are work weeks, so to speak. So it wouldn't be disastrous as another option. So it sounds like we're pretty much interested in Wednesdays. The first one instead of 7:30.
DLB Smith, I'd rather continue meeting on the second Wednesday later than move to the third Wednesday earlier, for what it's worth.
That is the 7:30, and
Hi.
we might be able to meet at like 7. Let me see who else. If somebody else isn't in here, I can get. Their meeting usually goes to 7. I can duck out a little early, so we could potentially at least move it up 30 minutes if that helps. So, okay, I think this gives me something to work with. So either the first or second Wednesday is really where you guys are landing
Yeah.
at this point. Okay.
And we will proceed with regular schedule for next month.
Right.
Okay.
The second, yeah.
Which is
7:30?
Can you just,
At 7:30?
So
Okay.
October 9th, Wednesday at 7:30,
okay.
here again. And I'll send, like this document has links on it, so I just brought it tonight so you guys can see it, but I'll send it as a PDF so you can actually activate those links and start learning more about. So, just for everybody's awareness, the city budget is apparently going to pass next week. And that includes the same budget as last year for the Art Commission, which includes $75,000 for the cultural or for the community arts grants. 20, I can't remember now. I think it's 20 for the outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition and 6,000 for the Phoenix Awards. And it will be a Phoenix Award year. So we'll be doing that. Changing programs is a little tricky for next year just because it's all budgeted accordingly. That doesn't mean you can't adjust those programs in some way, shape, or form. So that's where we stand at this point. And I think that's really everything for tonight.
Bring back miscellany.
I will bring back miscellany. We have a miscellany section on our agenda in case anybody just wants to, have a thought or something like that. So we can do that as well. So yeah, this is a great start. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Mr. Chair, would you call for adjournment?
Sure. I'll actually touch on a couple things just for our new members. Oh, and just so everybody knows, I've been on the board for about 5 years. Marlo has been on about the same, maybe longer. I'm trying to think. Tim, how long have you been on now?
Just shy of 3.
3, and Alicia, you've been on maybe like 8.
Not even a year, yeah,
About
8
1.
months.
So that gives the new members an impression of how long everyone else has been on. And just because Porter referenced it with the Phoenix Awards, the way it works, if you're not familiar, is that 1 year we commission the award, and it is created with local artists, and then the next year we have a ceremony where we recognize local artists. So it's a little bit interesting as far as an award that it's biannual. We have the award made and then we give out the awards, just so you're aware. So we're in an award-making year, just to clarify that, because I know it confused me when I was new. So yeah, I think that's it. And then, yeah, bring back miscellany. Kurt is the wizard behind the curtain.
Yes, Kurt is.
who's been helping out.
Always appreciate his help. And actually, I just remembered the other thing. Luis Ruiz is the new director of Parks, Recreation, Arts, and Culture. And he wanted to join tonight, but he wasn't able to. And so he will be here in October. And so you get to meet him as well, because he is the champion for unmistakable identity. So, and he's doing a great job. Learned a lot real fast. And I think his a real asset for the city. He brings a lot of experience from Mesa, Arizona, and other experience. So he's really, I think he's going to bring good things for us.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Porter. Thank you, everybody, for volunteering your leadership for the city, being here. Thanks to Kurt. And then we will meet October 9th, 7:30 here in this room. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
You can, but I have a question.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sorry. I
No,
was
that's
gonna-
perfect. That's one of the options.
You know, should we, as a potential item for October, are we, I mean, we've got new members, are we interested in doing a beginning of the year retreat like we've done in the past? Because if we are, October would be a good month to talk about that. I mean, I don't know if that's something we want to do. What we've done in the past is we've had kind of a beginning of the year where we, you know, just kind of, it's for a free-form meeting, and we just get together. I think the last time we did it, was that at the Arts? No, it was at Parks and Rec, and we just kind of talk about the year to come. It's just,
I like that.
it's a little bit different format.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to revisit that, but this would be the time that we would start talking about that, because we usually do it in January.
My only hesitation is I'm still processing through all these policies and stuff, and I don't know if that might be a little premature. That's my only hesitation.
We got work to
It might
do.
be better to do, huh?
We got work to do.
So, and I think, you know, that's the point of these meetings, is to do that work. So
Okay.
you can actually do that during the meeting, and maybe that's a time to brainstorm, you know, what would that look like? I mean, because then there's also the potential for an annual retreat, which would be in January. Although, I guess technically, from what I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, those that were there, this is the new cycle. So we're starting in September, so to speak, and not on a calendar. It used to be January, but, so I think that's newly established. So I'm not opposed. Let me check on that and see. I mean, one way or the other, I think we will do that. It's just, I don't know if that's premature at this point.
Okay. I'm feeling a little like we've got stuff that is, you know, the Phoenix and just stuff that would ordinarily, you know, we'd be starting to cycle through grant applications, correct? I mean, would we not be,
TGT is usually done in the fall, and then community arts grants are usually done early in the year.
okay.
So
I don't know why I was thinking we had applications in by like November.
I think when Abby first started with the board, you all decided, because we were coming out of COVID, you sort of launched everything. But
Okay.
that gets challenging for staff as far as administering these different programs and
Okay.
stuff. So usually the decision on the community arts grants is done in March. And that's something we can put on the agenda.
You said the decision is, right?
So in other words, the process goes through, and then you all make a decision in March. And then those grants are prepared. And if somebody were to need a grant prior to March, it can be given retroactively if they are approved.
Right, but if we're deciding in March, what would our cutoff date? I'm just backing into it now in my mind. So if we're gonna decide in March, and we've got to score, and we got to do all that stuff, and we usually.
start early in the year, you know.
Okay, so we want to start like in November and
Program.
give them, we don't start in November and give them like 6 weeks to get them in?
No.
I can't remember all
No.
that, that's why I'm asking.
Again, Abby did some of that, but historically, we've done it early in the year, just because it was on the fiscal cycle.
And what are the grants typically, who do they go to? Like, who's applying for them?
It's a great question. Community, I mean, I will say, to the point of like, you know, all the timing of all this, I think one of the things that we often will do with these meetings is we'll kick it off by looking at the calendar and the budget. I think that's definitely something for our October meeting. We can start off, pull up the year calendar and look at, this is when this grant process happens, this is when the outdoor sculpture exhibition happens, and just get everyone set to that. As far as the community arts grants, so we've changed it a little bit, you know, done it differently in multiple years, but you know, you'll have arts organizations like the Arts Center or Theater Lawrence who will apply. You'll have individuals who will apply, who might be leading a project. This past year, for the first time, we did mini grants also, which were specifically for like individuals who are looking to purchase like a piece of equipment that would really advance their ability to, continue down their career path in the arts. We can look at the calendar next time, and we can look at, I think just looking at the list of who we gave the funds to last year might give you a good reference
Use
to that.
list. Free State Festival, Lawrence Busker Festival, Amplify, so those two received the highest, which is $10,000 each. Amplify Lawrence Camp Experience, which is an LGBTQ camp program in the
Okay.
summer. That's really great. They got $5K. Benchmark 2024 is the Van Gogh program with their benches. They got $10,000. Sorry, this is out of order. Oh no, I'm sorry. It goes over here. Sorry, I'm reading two different things. They received 9,000. And then Native Fashion, the exhibition at the Spencer Museum, they also received 9,000. And then the Lowrider Twist is a car show with Art to Go, and that they received $4,303. The Emerging Artist booth at the Lawrence Arts, at Art in the Park, actually, through the Art Guild, they received $2,996.50. Juneteenth received $6,500. The National African American Quilt Convention received $6,500. The Inclusive Market Project, the Black 30 program at Lead. Right?
Actually,
At Lead.
that was the Merc Tribe program. It was originally that, and Black 30 had jumped on board, and I plan to do that again. So
Okay.
I am still looking for funding for that.
Okay, that's fine. And that's something actually we can speak to, but they received $5,390. And then Lawrence Pride Party received $4,800. And we had an additional, goodness gracious, 14 applicants that did not receive funding.
Okay.
It's very typical for grant funds that you get twice as much request as
Sure.
you have funding for, so that's there. And to what Monique just said, if there's ever a conflict, we have ways, because we're a relatively small village, that you would just abstain from any discussion on something like that as we go through it. So we can figure that out as well. So, and then I also administer the transient guest tax grant program for events, and we're working on adapting that because that board was dissolved, so we're figuring out how we're going to do that as well.
And do we, as a commission, ever consider any kind of fundraising so that we can do more?
I will say, so our funding also comes out of the TGT fund through the city, and as fundraising isn't really a term that I'd use, but I would say that members of this body have frequently advocated for the city to allocate more funding for the arts. And in the past several years, we have actually seen the amount that we are distributing in the community arts grants basically double. Whether that amount compares favorably to similar sized communities and how much they give out is something people might have varying opinions on, but we have seen some increases, and we can continue to advocate for that. And that's one of the things that members of this body can do, is by communicating with other folks that work with the city, whether it's our commissioners or other people, letting them know how much this part of our community can benefit the residents who live here, and the economic possibilities. We can potentially see that continue to grow. So.
And then the other question I have is.
And let me.
Oh, go ahead.
I want to double check that. I think in the policies, so one aspect of this transition is to clarify the role of boards and commissions. And remember that you work for the city commission.
Right.
And so we should, before we dive into assumptions like that, because I'm not sure that's,
Sure. Yeah.
no disrespect.
No, you're fine.
Based on what I'm learning, and I'm still learning, I'm not sure what you just said is actually accurate, in the sense that I don't think there's an encouragement for boards and commissions to be advocating or trying to fix the budget. That's really the city commission role. So
Yeah,
we have to be
the word
careful.
advocate's probably wrong, but I mean, we can definitely point out the ways, the impacts that, arts and culture are
And
positive.
I know, I lived here for 11 years before, so I know how what a tight-knit community Lawrence is. My question would be, do we want to, can we bring others into our community and offer that as well? My experience has been that Lawrence is a little funny about that. We want to keep it inside the community, we want to keep, but if it would bring more people into Lawrence, and offer more inclusion, and stuff, is that something that we consider? Is that something we,
Clear on what?
Well-
I think what you're trying to say is, and I've only been here for a short time too, but I do see the same people getting the same grants, and, you know, kind of not everybody might not know what's out there. So maybe
Right.
with us new folks and the new structure of what we're building here, can provide more awareness to community about what's available to them. And I think, you know, specifically, we all have different areas where we can go and push and kind of, you know,
Absolutely.
disrupt some
Absolutely.
stagnant energy and let them know, like, let's go.
Right,
Let's do some
okay,
stuff,
okay.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
so
that's-
engaging more.
Okay.
Just for awareness, yeah, I just found in Resolution 7472, members do not have budget responsibilities or oversight responsibilities. That is the obligation of the governing body, the city manager, and city staff. So I think that's something we just have to check in. We have to remember that we are not like a nonprofit board. We're an
Right.
advisory board for the city commission. And there are more stringent requirements if, for instance, you wanted to do some sort of committee to look into something like that. We actually have to get their approval
Okay.
before doing that. So we have to get direction from the commission to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will sort of check, because again, we're all learning how this works, but. we just
Yeah,
have to be
thank you,
aware
Porter.
of
Yeah,
what
that is a common thing. Like, often serving on this board, we will spend a long time belaboring these difficult decisions about who we want to allocate grant funding to. And at the end of the process, we need to always remember that our decision is a recommendation. Yeah, that goes to the
They
city commission,
still get
and then
to
they're the
make the
ones who
final,
actually
yeah.
make the decision. Which it's easy to slip into that language of, we decided to give this money to this person, but in reality, it's we decided to recommend.
Right,
to the-
right.
Yeah, so thank you, Porter. It's easy to
Yeah.
forget that
No, this
because.
is good. Obviously, you
Yeah.
probably need this time just to, you know, answer questions, so I appreciate you. All questions are good. I will say too, that as the budget process is unfolded, you know that we have World Cup coming into Lawrence in 2026, which is a big deal. Explore Lawrence has asked the city for funding to help marketing in 2025 for 2026. It has been suggested by city commissioners, and until the budget is formally passed, that they may want to take some of the grant funding from TGT and community arts grants to help fund some of that.
Of course they do. Sports win again, sports win again.
We'll have to, I don't want you to think that it's set in stone yet. But we will work on that, and I'll be able to give you more information as we
Okay.
move forward.
So the existing budget is what you're referring to, not
No,
next year's?
The 2025 budget. Because the
Okay.
existing budget, that money's already been,
Okay.
allocated. So we'll see. I think what we would do is if we were directed to do that by the city commission, we wouldn't take the same amount from both grants, because obviously one is 75K and one is 150, so we'd figure out how to do it in an equitable manner, so it wouldn't hit too hard, but it could take some money away.
I concur with what you both have said. It's well known that I've had some fairly kind of public disagreement with the fact that the same people receive funding over and over again, and not just from us. So I think, this is a very worthwhile discussion to have, and, the dissemination of, we have tried outreach, like we've tried to set dates, like, hey, you want to come talk about, if I remember this right, we've actually tried to no fanfare, but I agree with you that it needs more exposure, and at some point in time, we have to set a precedent that we're just not going to keep funding the same thing every year,
So like Porter said,
or recommending approval.
we could essentially put an idea of a committee together, present it, and see if that's something that they might want to support and
Pursue.
outreach.
Sure. And I do want to say, and I'm not disputing anything, but being the person that sits and looks at all these lists and things, if you really want to look into this earnestly, the one thing I would say is let me generate all the recipients over the years and applicants, and let's take a closer look at that.
Totally.
That's very cool.
Because I think it would be good to just be well informed. Is that actually an accurate thing? So I've heard that accusation, and I'm like, well, it kind of varies year to year. And actually with TGT, ironically, almost no sporting events were funded in this last round of transient guest tax grants. Which
great.
frankly is unfortunate because it really is meant for both circumstances. But so things do change over the years. And of course, COVID was a huge factor in that. So it's not, the last 2020, 21, and 22 are not really relevant directly to that. So anyway.
Dean B. Smith, one of the things, obviously there's more questions, that's great. One of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned, because it relates to something that Tim and also Porter kind of referenced, is our relationship with Parks and Recreation as a department in whole, and especially the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. During the boards and committees restructuring process, there was much debate about whether or not this body and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board should be smashed together, which I was always pretty adamant was a bad idea. And I attended some of their meetings to try and imagine how that would happen. I still believe that it was a bad idea, and I'm glad that we are separate bodies. But I do think that there is probably some opportunities for more interaction. And one of the things that had been discussed during that process was the possibility of an annual meeting with both groups present, sort of a summit, a Parks and Rec summit where the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and this body would both be there so that we could kind of discuss some of those overlaps and hopefully make sure that when we're doing our meetings and our business, we're keeping in mind the opportunities that exist and collaborating with them and their purview and vice versa. So, you mentioned, our, annual, what do you call it, retreat. I think that is something that we should try and, obviously I saw you taking a little note, so it's written down. That's good.
Yeah, and I think because Luis oversees, all this, it's a great idea.
If there aren't any questions, there's been, a lot of these questions have been great. It's
And
hard-
there will be more. We're
Yeah.
all on a pretty fierce learning curve, so this is good.
And if anybody has any questions between meetings, you can always send them to Porter or myself or both of us, just not everybody at once for Coma Cora reasons.
Oh, and yes, there is, for those who weren't able to attend, sorry, Matt, I'm picking on you, but
I did go.
oh, you did go?
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Don't
didn't
pick on
remember
me.
seeing you, I'm sorry.
I think he was in the front row.
No, I was behind that pillar. That's probably why you couldn't see me.
That sounds like a likely story.
Why are these seats empty? I'm like, they seem perfectly fine. Nope, can't see anything.
Okay, so you know the coma thing, the Cora
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and all that, so you guys are all oriented. Anybody who hasn't attended, if you can, September 26th, I think, in the evening. The good news was they fed us pizza, surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen, so I was like, oh, cool. So anyway.
They also did a really great job. I was like,
a lot of
I was
information.
expecting to go
Yeah, it
like this, and I thought everybody was really engaging, and so kudos to them.
Yeah, Sherry did a nice job. It's a lot of information. Cool, okay. I take it back. And I had to dash, so that's why I didn't stick around, so.
So I will say, let's see, it is 8:35. I will once again throw it out there that if anybody has a motion to adjourn, go ahead. Obviously, you can also interrupt a motion and if you have questions.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second, yes.
Any objections? No? Okay, usually we'll do a roll call vote for everything, but for the motion to adjourn, you just motion and second, so that's it. We're done. We'll meet back here next month, same time, same place.
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you guys.
Okay, wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
We're over. Is this off?
Let me,
Or is it still going?